today. Now, what has led to such alarming numbers in the United States? With more than 30 million Americans losing their jobs, households are cutting down on portion sizes, with children being forced to skip meals. Another major factor is the disruption of the school meal programs. Families are also not being able to collect meals from distribution sites. With everyone under lockdown, older siblings are also competing for limited supplies at homes, and the survey shows that consequences of the pandemic are far worse than what was witnessed in the subprime lending crisis of 2008. Meanwhile, the elusive and the world-famous street artist Banksy has struck again, and this time with a tribute to Britain's medical workers. Now, the latest Banksy artwork was unveiled at the University Hospital in Southampton, and the image is of a boy kneeling beside a bin full of superhero figurines, including the likes of Batman and Superman. But instead of choosing these conventional and traditional superheroes, the boy actually is holding up his new role model. It is an NHS nurse wearing a cape. The work, of course, symbolizes the bravery of Britain's NHS staff who are on the front lines every single day in battling with the COVID-19 pandemic.
And it's been a really difficult time for us while coronavirus has been going on. But I agree, everyone has pulled together as a team. And it's really nice to see something like this, because all the superheroes have been sort of put on the back shelf, and the nurses and the hospital staff are the superheroes at the moment. And I'm really proud of my team and my hospital. And it's really flattering that Banksy wanted to give us something here, because he's world famous, and, you know, we should be too.
Now, the nurse figurine was wearing a cape with outstretched arms, pretty much like Superman when he is out on a mission. The Banksy also left a thank you note for the hospital staff. The note read, "Thank you for all that you're doing. Hope this brightens up the place just a bit, even if it's only in black and white." Now, this painting, of course, will remain at the hospital until the lockdown ends, after which it will be auctioned to raise money for the NHS staff. Interestingly, even the hospital's chief executive is not exactly sure as to how the painting in fact reached inside of the building.
Actually, we're not really certain how it came about, but we did get contact from Banksy and his colleagues, and the first thing we did obviously was to check its authenticity. Couldn't quite believe it when it turned out to be true. But I'm really thrilled that he's chosen Southampton to recognise the work that's going on in the NHS and its friends at the moment. It's great.
All right, so while the rest of the world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a completely different kind of a crisis that is unfolding in Venezuela. Armed mercenaries, a private security company, and also an alleged coup attempt that was attempted from the sea route. Venezuela has, of course, now become a diplomatic and a military flashpoint after it managed to foil what was being described as some kind of military incursion orchestrated by the United States. At least 17 mercenaries have been arrested by Venezuela. They reportedly were part of an attack group that was sent to overthrow Nicolas Maduro's government, but they were intercepted off the coast of Caracas on Sunday. Maduro claims that 2 U.S. citizens who have now been captured by Venezuela, Luke Denman and Aaron Berry, are the leaders of this mercenary group. They were paraded on Venezuela's state television, and the 2 men have also confessed to leading a coup attempt in what experts are concluding is a heavily edited video that has been recorded under duress.
Because I didn't feel that was the case, I was helping Venezuelans take back control of my responsibilities to Silvercorp are written in a contract, or described in a contract, signed by Jordan Goudreau, Juan Rendon, and Juan Guaido. In total, it was 50 to 60, so around 20 people per group. To meet Venezuelans in Colombia, train them, and come with them to Venezuela to secure Caracas and secure an airport here for follow-on.
So in this video that was put out by the Venezuelan state television, Luke Denman, the American national who's been captured, says that he works for Silvercorp, a Florida-based private security company. Silvercorp's top boss, Jordan Godrov, has admitted that he was in fact behind the operation. Speaking to Bloomberg News, which of course is an American media news channel, now, Godrov has said that the main mission was to capture Maduro and liberate Venezuela. According to him, insurgency camps against Maduro have already been set up. Now, at this point of time, we do not know as to how authentic any of these claims are, since Silvercorp is yet to present evidence for the claims that it is making. Now, Godrov claims that he was contracted by Venezuela's opposition leader, Juan Guaido. Venezuela has called for Godrov to be extradited, since he has confessed plotting this particular regime change.
Yo creo que cabía derecho la solicitud de extradición de acuerdo al acuerdo de extradición entre Estados Unidos y Venezuela del señor Jordan Godrov, que ha confesado sus delitos contra la legalidad y la paz y soberanía de Venezuela. Cabe a derecho solicitar y vamos a hacerlo ante las autoridades estadounidenses.
And also what's interesting is the American response. The U.S. government, for its part, has denied all responsibility. The Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, has promised that he will use every tool in his power to bring back the two American nationals who have now been captured by Venezuela while they were attempting this coup.
We will start the process of trying to figure a way, if in fact these are Americans that are there, that we can figure out a path forward. We want to get every American back. If the Maduro regime decides to hold them, we'll use every tool that we have available to try and get them back. It's our responsibility to do so.
The captured men insists Caracas will be tried in Venezuela. Maduro has also decided to lodge a case against the U.S. government and President Donald Trump at the International Court of Justice. Well, that's all the time we have in this edition of the News Bulletin. But just as we go, we'll leave you with these startling visuals of strong winds which shook up a sea bridge in South China's Guangdong province. The bridge has been temporarily closed down for repairs, as netizens admitted to never having seen anything quite like it. Take a look at these visuals and thanks for watching.
悬索桥本次震动主要原因，桥跨边护栏连续设置水马，改变了钢箱梁的气动外形。
然后对这种悬索桥的主缆，会进行一个检测，就是一个全方位的检测。
悬索桥本次震动主要原因，桥跨边护栏连续设置水马，改变了钢箱梁的气动外形。
然后对这种悬索桥的主缆，会进行一个检测，就是。
Hello children, we are all up against a crisis. But if you look at history, human willpower has always come out victorious because we have this unique gift of adapting and, more importantly, learning. I'm proud that as a nation, we are doing our best. But we don't want your learning to stop. And that's why at Byju's, we have made our learning app free. Additionally, our teachers are coming together to take live classes 3-4 times a week. To attend these free classes, you can just download the Byju's app. Stay safe and keep learning.
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, इस खर्चे का क्या फायदा? हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस अपने यहाँ के अच्छे हॉस्पिटल्स में आपको कैशलेस ट्रीटमेंट दिलाएगा, साथ में प्री और पोस्ट हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन के खर्चे से भी बचाएगा। ये तो फिट बात है, फायदे की बात है।
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सालों की सेविंग्स बचाएगा, किसी दिन नहीं हर रोज काम आएगा। हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस में कोविड-19 का खर्चा भी कवर हो जाएगा, साथ ही पूरे परिवार के काम आएगा। हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, फायदे की बात।
पड़ता है खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Keep your learning going with free live interactive classes from India's best teachers, all from the safety of your home, because we'll make sure that India's learning won't stop. Vedantu. Download the free app now.
रुकिए, अभी भी आम हैंड वॉश? हाँ, ये कीटाणुओं की सफाई के साथ सॉफ्टनेस का भी सफाया करता है, इसीलिए संतूर हैंड वॉश। इसमें है चंदन के गुण, जो बार बार धोने पर भी हाथों को रखे हमेशा सॉफ्ट, हर स्पर्श में कोमलता। संतूर हैंड वॉश।
The coronavirus pandemic may have wiped out the global sporting calendar. But fans that are starved for their daily fix need not worry, because WION has you covered.
The athlete's voice is always respected and the athlete's voice is always listened.
Who want to suffer in this situation?
We might even look at a quarantine facility for all sports together.
It feels like the world has just stopped.
We're bringing you conversations with the most prominent voices in Indian sport on the biggest stories as they happen.
You know, what the virus has done over the last few months and probably will continue to do for the rest of the season is rewriting the history books in our sport.
Find out how celebrated athletes are dealing with the virus lockdown and recalibrating their plans for the future.
Feels like the world is just stopped.
Well, but even extremely grateful for all the moments that I've got.
You can't even know all the distance
for us because as we
On WION Broadband Edition on TV and digital platforms.
At WION, news is what we live by.
News that is factual, not opinionated.
Anything that happens anywhere on the globe, anytime.
You see it first on WION. Perspectives from across the world.
All the news from India's neighborhood.
Or all the action from the sporting arena.
Our networks around the world bring you the latest coverage.
That brings you all the news as it happens.
The conflicts that define our world.
Stories that impact global economy.
We make sure you get the right updates each time, every time.
Because when it's news, we know you count on us.
Because what affects the world affects us all.
Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Beyond World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start with the top stories of the day. India has crossed the 50,000 mark in terms of the COVID-19 infections that have been recorded, with a 24-hour jump of as many as about 3,561 cases and 89 fatalities. The overall number of infections in India has now risen to 52,952.
विश्व के अनेक देशों ने भारत को इस मुश्किल समय में याद किया और भारत ने भी हर जरूरतमंद तक पहुंचने में कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी।
India is standing with the world in this time of crisis, says India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the address to the nation on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. The Prime Minister has said that India will continue to serve all those who seek its help. A major gas leak has been reported at a chemical plant in Visakhapatnam in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. This has reportedly led to the deaths of at least 6 individuals, with 200 others being hospitalized. And according to preliminary data that is coming in, it is being said to be a suspected leak of the styrene gas at an LG Polymers plant in the city. And Venezuela will try in its own court the 2 American nationals who have been captured while attempting a coup in Caracas. Now, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has accused the United States, along with the Colombian and Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido, of being complicit in this coup attempt.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center.
As the COVID-19 death toll surpasses the 74,000 mark in the United States, US President Donald Trump has said that the pandemic is the worst attack in US history, even worse than the Pearl Harbor and the 9/11 attacks.
Right now, it's a relationship of disappointment and frustration because the president has said how frustrated he is that some of the decisions of China put American lives at risk.
And the United States attacks China yet again, stating that China could have in fact prevented the deaths of thousands of people worldwide but chose to remain silent. The White House has said that the United States' relationship with China right now is one of disappointment and frustration. A study has revealed that nearly about 1 in 5 children in the United States are just not getting enough to eat since the COVID-19 pandemic erupted. A recent study by the Brookings Institute has found that more than 17% of mothers with children less than the age of 12 have reported that their offspring were not eating enough due to a lack of money. The World Health Organization has warned countries emerging from restrictions to proceed with extreme caution or risk a rapid rise in the number of infections. The WHO's Director General has said that the risk of the virus returning is very real if countries do not manage the transition extremely carefully and in a phased manner. And a new Banksy artwork celebrates the real superheroes, that is the health workers. A mural by the anonymous artist shows a young boy choosing a nurse with a superhero's cape over the other traditional superheroes such as Batman and Spider-Man. All right, so let's start with the big story that is in fact coming in from Visakhapatnam in the southern state of Andhra Pradesh, where according to the preliminary reports that are coming in, there's been a gas leak that has taken place at the LG Polymers factory in Visakhapatnam. And this, at this point of time, has resulted in 6 fatalities, with at least 120 others being hospitalized. and people began complaining of a burning sensation in their eyes and breathing difficulties. We are being told that children, at least one child, is said to be amongst those who have lost their lives. 3 surrounding villages have now been evacuated. First responders, including firemen, have been rushed to the spot, and officials claim that the leak has now been brought under control. Door-to-door surveys are also being conducted to assess the damage. And these are the horrific visuals that are coming in from Visakhapatnam, where several people are said to become unconscious after having breathed the fumes of this gas that got leaked from a polymer factory. Now, the factory that is the center of this gas leak is owned by the South Korean battery maker LG Chemicals Limited. So this is the latest bit of information that is coming in. A lot of the information is still very preliminary in its nature, but according to what we know at this point of time, there is a gas leak that has taken place, and also there are reports that this is said to be some kind of a styrene gas that has got leaked into the atmosphere. The precise circumstances in terms of how this has happened, it is not very clear, but according to the preliminary information that is coming in, at least about 6 people, including a child, are said to have lost their lives, and at least 200 people are said to have been hospitalized at this point of time, and 3 adjoining villages around the polymer factory have been evacuated. So we'll be getting you more details as they emerge from Visakhapatnam in India, but let's now shift our attention to what is happening in the United States, where according to a study, nearly about 1 in every 5 children are going hungry due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States. Now, this report highlights the vast health impact of the crisis, and the Brookings Institution report has found that nearly about 17.4% of the mothers with children under the age of 12 have said that they simply do not have money to purchase food to feed their children. This survey signals a crisis that is unprecedented in American history in modern times. Now, according to the latest data, food insecurity in homes with children under 18 has increased by about 130% from 2018 till today. So what has led to such alarming numbers in the United States? With more than 30 million Americans losing their jobs, households are having to cut back on portion sizes, with children being forced to skip meals. Another major factor is the disruption of school meal programs. Families are also not being able to collect meals from distribution sites either, with everyone under lockdown. Older siblings, it is being said, are competing for the limited food supplies at homes. The survey shows that the consequences of the pandemic are in fact far worse than during the financial crisis of 2008. In order to combat the food shortages, food banks are coming up in different parts of the United States in a bid to try and feed the hungry, as the country is facing record unemployment levels due to the COVID-19 outbreak. But with unemployment expected to rise even higher over the next few weeks, food banks in the United States will be under greater pressure to serve the people in need. Our next report tells you more.
With an unprecedented 30 million Americans filing for unemployment, the Alameda County Food Bank in Northern California has risen to meet the need.
Staple items like potatoes, onions, apples and pears, stuff that they can eat that's not just, something that's in a can. Sometimes we even provide dairy, which is nice, so it's a nice variety.
Usually by the time we open, there's, between 40 and 50 cars already waiting for us to open the gates. Our emergency food helpline call volume surged right off the bat. It peaked at 1,000% higher, and we're still taking, well over 100 to 200 calls per day. About 50% of the people who are reaching out to us on a daily basis are reaching out to us for the very first time.
The food banks ramped up their efforts to meet the needs. Funding comes from state and private donations.
We are distributing a lot more food. Now, last month alone, we distributed 20% more food than we did the year before. We're able to buy a lot of food for pennies on the dollar. We buy in bulk. So even a small donation becomes a lot of food.
It is a no-contact facility. Clients are able to stay inside their car, minimal talking, minimal information is taken. We do all the hard work. We literally put the food inside their cars for them, and it's fast. So they're able to come get food. They've got to wait in a little bit of a line, but they get really good food, and it's safe.
Usually we would just serve low-income families in East Oakland. Now it's just about every demographic, every class of individuals coming through here.
It's been humbling. We are talking to a lot of people who are coming to us for the first time, people who just completely lost hours or they were laid off and didn't know where to turn.
And the food bank expects people will keep coming.
We know from past experiences that once something like a shelter-in-place order is lifted, once an emergency is sort of ended, so to speak, it's still going to take months, if not years, for a lot of people who are impacted the hardest by this to get back on their feet.
The staff stressed that all that is needed to receive the food donations is to show up. There is no type of eligibility requirement. For VOA News, Dina Mitchell, Oakland, California.
Meanwhile, female athletes in Iran are said to be bearing the brunt of the crisis. The stay-at-home strategy in the beginning was a sort of a hurdle for many Iranian female athletes, but gradually they are now coming up with new ways to stay fit. There are many female athletes who are continuing their training activities at home or in parks. The Iranian road racing cyclist Atusa Abbasi is the top record holder and pedals in the streets to tackle the crisis. She competes internationally for Iran, and her last competition was the women's road race in the Iranian National Championships of 2019.
Our sport is our livelihood. It's our work. Many of us rely on our sport to earn an income. So during this period of restrictions, we have not been able to maintain our income levels.
Now, another athlete, Husna Mirhadi, a football freestyler, says that the coronavirus cannot stop her from exercising or following her routine.
During this period, it has been very difficult to keep the training going. We were restricted to doing this at home, instead of the open spaces that we were used to before. But I have tried to do as much training at home up till now, so that I could stay in shape and keep sharp. It is better now, but the universities remain closed and there are no official events. I can go out and do my training, though I always maintain the required social distancing measures.
Now, gyms and sports clubs now bear an empty look without athletes. Before the pandemic, large number of enthusiasts from all sporting disciplines in Iran spent part of or nearly all of their daily time honing their chosen sport. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has called the coronavirus pandemic as the worst attack in US history, saying that the fallout from the crisis is much bigger than the 9/11 attack or even the Pearl Harbor attack. The Trump statement comes as more than 74,000 Americans have succumbed to the deadly infection in the country.
Stock market's at 24,000, and we went through the worst attack we've ever had on our country. This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
Meanwhile, a day after planning to dismantle the coronavirus task force, Trump has said that the task force will continue indefinitely. Now, the president has also claimed that he had no idea as to how popular the task force had become.
The task force has done a great job, and I had a meeting yesterday, I had a meeting this morning, probably even more importantly, and so we'll be leaving the task force indefinitely. We'll see, at a certain point that'll end like things end, but we'll be adding some people to the task force, and there'll be more in the neighborhood probably of opening our country up, because our country has to get open again, and the people want it to be open.
Now, the task force has been key to the administration's response to the outbreak. Task force heads such as Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx have emerged as important voices in the United States against COVID-19. Now, according to the latest announcement, there will be new members who will be added to the task force as the focus will now shift to reopening the economy. However, there's also the possibility of a second wave of infections that is a big concern across the country. Several states in the country are now lifting their stay-at-home orders. But New York, the epicenter of the outbreak, continues to remain under lockdown.
It's not a question of do we reopen, it's a question of how we reopen. That's really the question that we have to grapple with and that we're dealing with in New York. Our position in New York is the answer to the question, how do we reopen, is by following facts and data as opposed to emotion and politics.
Meanwhile, for the very first time in its 115-year-old history, New York City has shut down its entire subway system. Now, this unprecedented step has been taken to deep clean all the train cars in this massive transit system. And this move also signals the possible changes in terms of public transport systems around the globe in a post-pandemic world. And also US pharma giant Pfizer, along with the German drug maker BioNTech, are delivering doses of their experimental coronavirus vaccines for the initial human testing in the United States. If the vaccine were to prove to be effective and safe in the trial systems, it could potentially be ready for distribution by the year end. Pfizer is currently awaiting emergency authorization from the US Food and Drug Administration, and it could contribute to as many as 20 million doses of this vaccine if it were to turn out to be successful by the end of the year 2020. So a lot of questions, in fact, are being asked of China in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic's outbreak. And many people are saying that China will have to answer and give a number of explanations, even for what is happening within its own country. Now, China, it appears, is systematically removing anyone who is asking the government any tough questions. Now, the Dragon first reprimanded whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang. He was trying to warn other doctors about a possible SARS-like illness. The whistleblower soon died of the coronavirus. A day before his death, lawyer Chen Qiushi went missing. His videos of the hospitals in Wuhan, however, have gone viral, and China is not happy with what is being spoken of in these videos that have been recorded. Now, the next one who came under the Chinese government's radar is Li Zhehua, a reporter with the Chinese state television, who had reported on the death toll in Wuhan. Now, another person has also been missing as well, and this is a very high-profile person, the director of the Wuhan lab, Shi Zhengli. She's called the Batwoman of China, and she's not been seen in public since the outbreak of the pandemic. Take a look as to what's been her story so far.
She is a renowned virologist. She is an expert on the coronavirus in bats. She is the supposed director of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Shi Zhengli may have the answer to the question the world is asking. Did the coronavirus originate in her lab? But Shi Zhengli is missing. This is just one of the many things that's mysterious about her. Shi Zhengli is called China's Batwoman, and this is her story. She began her studies on bats in 2004. She studied all kinds of bats, the ones picked from caves, the ones from the subtropical regions in the south. Her research was aimed at understanding the SARS outbreak. She made a breakthrough in 2013. Shi Zhengli found bat feces with the virus 96.2% identical to the SARS-CoV-2. Yes, this is the same virus that caused COVID-19. In 2013, she began altering parts of the coronavirus. She wanted to study whether the coronavirus can be transmitted from one species to another. In 2015, she concluded that the SARS-like virus can jump from bats to humans. And there is no known treatment. Fast forward to 2019. On the 30th of December, she received some samples from healthcare workers in Wuhan. Test them urgently. These samples were from patients in Wuhan who were showing atypical pneumonia. This was a new coronavirus, the Wuhan coronavirus. By the time Shi Zhengli started analyzing the samples, it was too late. The virus had spread to the rest of China, and within months it had crossed seas. Did the virus escape from Xi's lab? Only Shi Zhengli has the answer, but she is missing. The virologist reappeared online on the 2nd of February. On WeChat, she said,
I promise with my life that the virus has nothing to do with the lab.
A month later, she reportedly admitted to having several sleepless nights.
Could they have come from our lab?
The bat expert was asking herself this question. Soon rumors surfaced on social media. Some claimed she defected to the West, and she took along with her years of confidential research on bat coronavirus. Word was the Wuhan lab director was taking asylum at the US Embassy in Paris. Shi Zhengli quashed these rumors again on WeChat.
No matter how difficult things are, it shall never happen. We've done nothing wrong. With a strong belief in science, we will see the day when the clouds disperse and the sun shines.
She also posted 9 pictures, not of her lab or herself, but evidence of being in Wuhan. Some said the Chinese had muzzled her. This sparked another set of questions. Is Shi Zhengli safe? Another clarification on WeChat.
Everything is all right for my family and me, dear friends.
If that is the case, then where is China's Batwoman? Why has she not been seen in public in months? Can China say it has nothing to do with this disappearance? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Now, healthcare workers around the world are struggling with the lack of protective gear. But in Russia, the problem, it appears, is a lot more complicated. Doctors are mysteriously, this is how they're putting it, mysteriously falling out of hospital windows and dying in what may not be a coincidence. These doctors had questioned the lack of proper facilities while they go about their work. Meanwhile, medical students are also being forced to work in hospitals or face expulsion from college. Here's a report.
They are fighting on the front lines, risking their lives to save others. It is a battle against a deadly enemy. But these warriors are not armed. Doctors across the world do not have enough protective gear. They are succumbing to the disease. In Russia, the situation is particularly appalling. 3 frontline healthcare workers have fallen out of hospital windows. The mysterious incidents took place in just the last 2 weeks and have aggravated the anger over the working conditions for the frontline workers. 2 of the medics lost their lives. The third one, ambulance doctor Alexander Sholopov, is now in a serious condition. Sholopov had spoken out about the kind of pressure that he and his colleagues were facing. He said he was instructed to work despite testing positive for COVID-19. Just days later, Sholopov jumped out of a hospital window. Lying on the hospital bed, he then retracted his claims. The second video triggered speculation that he had backtracked under duress. While investigations continue, the 3 incidents have raised question marks over the kind of pressure doctors in Russia are facing. Not just those on the front lines, even students are bearing the brunt. With the crisis intensifying, medical students are being forced to work in hospitals. And if they refuse to do so, they are threatened with expulsion. It's a tough choice. Fight a virus despite lack of protective equipment, or get expelled from school. Meanwhile, the numbers are mounting in Russia. The country reported more than 10,000 coronavirus cases for 4 days in a row. The latest spike takes the total number of cases to over 165,000. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, that's all the time we have in this edition of the News Bulletin, and to stay updated with everything that is happening around the world, you can also log on to our website, wionnews.com. Thanks for watching.
इस खर्चे का क्या फायदा?
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस अपने यहाँ के अच्छे हॉस्पिटल्स में आपको कैशलेस ट्रीटमेंट दिलाएगा, साथ में प्री और पोस्ट हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन के खर्चे से भी बचाएगा।
ये तो फिट बात है,
फायदे की बात है।
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सालों की सेविंग्स बचाएगा, किसी दिन नहीं हर रोज काम आएगा। हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस में कोविड-19 का खर्चा भी कवर हो जाएगा, साथ ही पूरे परिवार के काम आएगा। हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, फायदे की बात।
Hello children, we are all up against a crisis. But if you look at history, human willpower has always come out victorious because we have this unique gift of adapting and, more importantly, learning. I'm proud that as a nation we are doing our best, but we don't want your learning to stop. And that's why at Byju's we have made our learning app free. Additionally, our teachers are coming together to take live classes 3-4 times a week. To attend these free classes, you can just download the Byju's app. Stay safe and keep learning.
जरा सी हंसी दुलार जरा सा अमूल the taste of India जरा सी अनबन प्यार जरा सा अमूल the taste of India यही तो अमूल है स्वाद इंडिया का यही तो अमूल है the taste of India
You're watching WION World is One with me, Priyanka Sharma. Now, before we start off this bulletin, we'd just like to remind all our viewers to follow the rules of the national lockdown put in place by the Indian government. Stay home, stay safe, and save lives. Remember to practice social distancing at all times and only step out if it is necessary, because you could pose a risk to catching the infection. And now, let's take a look at the top stories that we're tracking this afternoon. India crosses the 50,000 mark in COVID-19 infections with a 24-hour jump of 3,561 cases and 89 deaths. The overall numbers have jumped to 52,952 and 1,783 deaths reported so far.
विश्व के अनेक देशों ने भारत को इस मुश्किल समय में याद किया और भारत ने भी हर जरूरतमंद तक पहुंचने में कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी।
India is standing with the world in this time of need, says Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in an address to the nation on the occasion of Budh Purnima. The Prime Minister says that India will continue to serve all those who seek its help. A major gas leak at a chemical plant in Visakhapatnam in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh has reportedly resulted in the death of at least 6 individuals and hospitalized another 120. Reports suggest that the suspected leak of styrene gas was from an LG Polymers plant in the city. Venezuela will try in court the 2 Americans who were allegedly captured during a failed sea attack by mercenaries. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has accused the United States, along with the Colombian and the Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido, of being complicit in the alleged coup. The US has denied these allegations.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center.
As the COVID-19 death toll surpasses a 74,000 mark in the United States, US President Donald Trump says that the pandemic is the worst attack in US history and even worse than the Pearl Harbor and the 9/11 attacks.
Right now, it's a relationship of disappointment and frustration because the president has said how frustrated he is that some of the decisions of China put American lives at risk.
The United States attacks China once again, stating that China could have prevented the deaths of thousands of people worldwide, but chose to remain silent on COVID-19. The White House says that the United States' relationship with China as of now is one of disappointment and frustration. A study reveals that nearly 1 in 5 children in the United States are not getting enough food to eat since the coronavirus pandemic erupted. A recent study by the Brookings Institution found that more than 17% of mothers with children less than 12 years of age reported that their offspring was not eating enough due to a lack of money. The World Health Organization has warned countries emerging from restrictions to proceed extremely carefully or risk a rapid rise in new cases. The WHO Director General says that the risk of the virus returning is very real if countries do not manage the transition extremely carefully and in a phased manner. A new Banksy artwork celebrates the real superheroes, health workers. The mural by the anonymous artist shows a young boy choosing a nurse as a superhero to play with over conventional figurines like Batman and Spider-Man. Let's now begin this bulletin by telling you about the findings of a new study. Nearly 1 in every 5 children in the United States is being left hungry amid the coronavirus pandemic. This shocking report highlights the vast health impact of this crisis. The Brookings Institution report found that 17.4% of mothers and children aged 12 years or under reported that they were not eating enough due to lack of money. The graph on your screens right now shows the rising percentage of hungry children in households under 18. The survey signals a crisis that is unprecedented in modern times. According to the latest data, food insecurity in houses with children under 18 has increased by about 130% from 2018 till today. So what has led to such alarming numbers in the US? Well, with more than 30 million Americans losing their jobs, households are cutting back on portion sizes and with children being forced to skip meals now. Another major factor is the disruption of school meal programs. Families are also not being able to collect meals from distribution sites, with everyone under a lockdown. Older siblings are also competing for limited food supplies in houses. The survey shows that consequences of the pandemic are far worse than during the financial crisis of the year 2008. The elusive and world-famous street artist Banksy has struck again, this time with a tribute to Britain's medical workers. The latest Banksy artwork was unveiled at the University Hospital in Southampton. The image shows a boy kneeling beside a bin full of Batman and Spider-Man figurines, but instead of those traditional superheroes, the boy is actually holding up his new role model, an NHS nurse. The work symbolizes the bravery of Britain's NHS staff, which is on the front line fighting tirelessly each day against COVID-19.
And it's been a really difficult time for us while coronavirus has been going on. But I agree, everyone has pulled together as a team. And it's really nice to see something like this because all the superheroes have been sort of put on the back shelf and the nurses and the hospital staff are the superheroes at the moment. And I'm really proud of my team and my hospital. And it's really flattering that